up, everybody? I am your host, a broke college girl who is tired of listening to her roommate get drilled. And that is my co-host, the leader of a satanic cult looking to hire a babysitter. And welcome to the Grindhouse Syndicate, where today we are talking about a film that will make you question every babysitting job you have ever taken and every sketchy thing you have done for money. Because on this episode, we are diving into Ty West's slow burn masterpiece, House of the Devil from 2009. So the past few weeks have been kind of weird. It started off where one random night I watched the last drive-in episode of House of the Devil, where I found out about this rare actress who came out of retirement to do this movie with Ty West. Then you picked The Devil's Rejects, which is where I discovered that this rare actress also plays a small role in that movie for Rob Zombie. Then I picked Night of the Living Dead, to which my surprise starred Bill Moseley and Tom Towles, who, of course, both had major roles in Devil's Rejects. And then you pick House of the Devil, which was actually a last-minute change-up, bringing this whole thing full circle.
Which I had already ordered from Second Sight weeks before where you told me about the episode last night at the drive-in.
So
And
weird, man.
I got something that ties that in even more. And I
Jeez.
was going to save this for the end of the episode, but since you bring it up, I have to drop it now. In the credits, there's a list of special thanks, and Bill Moseley
Get the
is
fuck
in
outta
the
here.
special thanks. And I searched every corner of the internet to find a connection of why.
What?
Or if him and Ty West have ever even worked together. They have not. And he is in, I cannot find anything. I've used AI. I've searched everywhere.
What?
But he is in the credits to this. And from everything AI can gather, it's more of the
Thank you.
support that Bill Moseley has really given to low-budget independent filmmakers, and a lot of the doors he's opened and his vocal support that he's had for years. AI says it's more than likely that they know each other because they work with a lot of the same people. But I also thought it was very interesting that Bill Moseley is from Connecticut, where this was filmed.
Yeah, that is crazy, man.
I just happened to see that last night and paused it, and I was like, is that Bill Moseley in the special thanks? And I was like, I gotta find out why he's in here, and could not find a exact answer.
Well, there's obviously some kind of connection because I can't remember her name, but that actress, she was a part of Andy Warhol's group, the Velvet Underground, back in the day. She doesn't really she doesn't really act. She hasn't acted in a long time, but she came out of retirement for Devil's Rejects and House of the Devil. What the fuck? And this all started where the announcement for the last drive-in was ending, and I was like, oh, you know what? I haven't watched that in like probably about close to a year. And I was like, well, let me go back through and kind of watch some of my episodes that I really liked. And I started with House of the Devil, and it leads here. It's weird.
It's funny that actress actually turned Ty West down on his previous film. So he had done the Roost and Triggerman was the two he had done before this. And one of those two he tried to get her to be in. She turned him down. She turned him down again on this, and he was like, just give me a chance, read the script. She ended up, inviting him over, and they talked just not about the script, but about cinema and film. And he knew like a ton of her background, and he chalked it up where she was kind of just like, they clicked so well, she was like, okay, I'll do it.
Wow. Oh man, what a crazy thing. I don't think this is going to pour into next week, but who knows at this point. Also, before we dive into this thing, I forgot to mention last week, but next month is Listener Appreciation Month, where you guys pick the movies we cover all month long. So it is time to start sending in those requests so we can start putting together next month's schedule. I always get excited to hear what the requests are and start putting it together. It's kind of one of my favorite times of year. And just in case you didn't hear the news, Shudder just announced that they have acquired the full streaming rights to all 7 seasons of Tales from the Crypt, which isn't a huge deal for us because we have the box set, but it will make it easier for you guys to watch the episodes. But more importantly, I think this will bring Tales from the Crypt back into the forefront a little more, because I think a lot of people's memory has gotten a little fuzzy on how great that show is. But yeah, expect more Tales from the Crypt episodes from us, thanks to Shudder.
Yeah, and for physical media collectors, this could possibly lead into something significant. Really keep an eye out if those episodes look much better than what they used to look or they look like on the DVD, because if you are a physical media collector, you probably know that these have only been released on DVD. They'd never been upscaled or scanned, and if they all of a sudden look better, that means behind the scenes, there's probably a company working on upscaling these to a Blu-ray or 4K type release. And companies like Arrow Video have been really going after, like I could definitely see that being in something that they would go after, trying to get to do a box set on.
I would 100% get a Blu-ray box set if it can. I don't think it needs to be on 4K, but Blu-ray definitely, because it's a coincidence. I was just talking to you last night about I put the season 1 The Walking Dead DVD in, and I was like, oh, on my 4K TV, it looks horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. And I think that Tales from the Crypt, I mean, it's a little more forgiving because it's way older than, say, The Walking Dead, but it definitely could use a facelift.
It needs it.
Yeah.
It needs it. I think it would be really awesome to see the comic book style and the Crypt Keeper, the awesome intros in some type of upscale, whether it's I would love to see them go 4K if they still have the film, the negatives that they shot the episodes on, just 4K scan it, but even just to upgrade to Blu-ray, I would 100% go out and buy that. One benefit too is if they did it in 4K, you wouldn't have to worry about regions. So, say if a company like Arrow picked it up, but they only picked it up for their UK side, or somebody like Umbrella picked it up to release it, we wouldn't have to worry about region locks.
Yeah. So with that being said, are you ready to dive into House of the Devil?
I am so ready.
All right. Well, speaking of the Crypt Keeper, here he is.
Hello, boys and ghouls. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on with the show, talk about or submit your movie requests, or just say die, then I got good news for you. You can always find us at one of our social media accounts or our official website at Grindhouse.Horror.Pod.com, Facecrook at the Grindhouse Syndicate Horror Podcast, Instascam at GrindhouseSyndicate.Horror.Pod, and many gore, which you can always find links for in the show notes as always. And you know what I always say, the morgue, the merrier. So please subscribe or follow for alerts on new episodes. Now, back to the show, kiddies. Frights, camera, action.
And if you really love us and don't want us to get impregnated by a demon baby because we owe D. Wallace $300 by Monday, give us a review. The House of the Devil is a 2009 American horror film written, directed, and edited by Ty West. It stars Jocelyn Donahue, Tom Noonan, Greta Gerwig, and Dee Wallace. It was produced by Glass Eye Pix, Ring the Jing Entertainment, and Constructo Vision. It had a budget of $900,000 and a box office of a little over $101,000. The story follows a young college student who is hired as a babysitter at an isolated house far from the city, who soon gets caught up in a bizarre and dangerous ritual surrounding a rare eclipse, forcing her to fight for her life. The film combines elements of both the slasher and haunted house subgenres, while also incorporating the satanic panic from the 1980s as a central plot point. Ty West intended the film to pay homage to the style of 1970s and 80s horror films like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the Amityville Horror, which is why he used equipment and filmmaking techniques commonly available in the 70s and 80s. Production took place in Lakeville, Connecticut at an empty house they redecorated with out-of-style wallpaper and even added fake walls to make the film feel more claustrophobic. Fun fact, the house was infested with ladybugs, which you can actually see in some of the shots. I did not pick up any ladybugs, but I kind of came across that after I had already done it, so I'll have to look for those when I rewatch it.
It's funny, another fun fact about the house is when they scouted it, the little old lady who owned it was actually pretty easy to talk into letting them film, but they actually called the movie The House on set because they didn't want to freak her out and scare her off from letting them film in this house by calling it House of the Devil.
Yeah, I did see maybe in 2024 or 5 it was up for sale.
Yeah, one of the producers in the second site release actually mentioned it, and he didn't say if he knew how much it ended up selling for or anything, but man, it really is a beautiful house.
Beautiful house, yeah.
The house is a kind of a central character of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is one thing that I think also really ties into that 80s feel is you get that with a lot of those older horror movies, especially satanic or paranormal movies where the house is almost a character in itself.
Yeah, it's very much got kind of an Amityville Horror house vibe. Matter of fact, when I did the episode artwork for this, I referenced the Amityville Horror poster, movie poster for that.
There's also a really good shot. I haven't heard it mentioned by anybody, but there is a really good shot of her standing in the window. There's 5 windows, and she's standing in the middle, and it really gives me the sorority house from Black Christmas.
Yeah.
Like that whole shot is just Black Christmas written all over it.
So most of the crew were locally sourced from Connecticut, where the film was shot, to help keep the cost under $1 million. The on-location production took just 18 days and was shot on 16mm film, giving it a retro stylistic look matching the decade. In order to stay true to that era in American culture, Wes also included small details like feathered hair, acid-wash jeans, a 1980s Sony Walkman, and a Volvo 240 sedan, which is one of the cars people automatically think of when picturing the 1980s. I did see Ty West was, almost obsessed with tracking down an original 1980s Sony Walkman for the movie. So that Walkman that's in this movie is not something the prop team made or anything. It is a real 1980s Walkman.
So prior to this, Eli Roth had suggested him for Cabin Fever 2, which was his first big production. It was awful. He didn't want anything to do with it, doesn't want to talk about it. They completely edited just they changed his movie completely. So he was ultra fixated on making his movie when he made this. And it was so far that it was down to the wallpaper that he wanted in certain shots. And the behind the scenes, you can literally see them after they cut filming. They had re-wallpapered this whole house because of different wallpapers that he wanted in the movie.
Yeah, I will be honest. If you are not either like a hardcore 70s, 80s horror fan or a big fan of film, this is probably not a movie for you because the story's pretty basic. But if you do love like filmmaking and the style from the 70s and 80s, like this is a movie you will drastically appreciate.
Yeah, this is why I picked this movie. More so it's not a deep dive, but more of a looking at the timepiece element because it was done so well. And through that, I learned that the director of photography, Elliot Rocket, they worked together on Cabin Fever 2, and then he carried him over to this. He has worked with Ty West on every single movie he's done since.
That makes
So
sense.
all of the X and Maxine and Pearl trilogy, but yeah, he said that they shared a mindset of they wanted to essentially make not a modern timepiece, which is mostly what you get, but a full timepiece, like made with the cameras and the film and everything. That a movie that you could put on and think that it came from the 80s as opposed to it being a newer movie that just uses props and takes place in the 80s. And they do an amazing job with that.
Well, if I were to make a movie, this is the movie that, like, not story-wise, but this is the style of movie that I would make.
Yeah, this is where movie making really is an art. Like this movie is really a art piece. Like the story itself is a good story. It's not a bad story, but that's not what the movie is. The movie is this really awesome timepiece that is just a constant build of anticipation and dread, and then this awesome climax. But it's really the art behind making a movie that imitates this whole entire genre of this decade.
Yep. So despite all of that, it wasn't just the film and props West used to replicate that time period. He also used cinematography that was common amongst directors known for 70s and 80s horror flicks. For instance, rather than use a dolly for close moving shots, West incorporated the zoom on the camera itself. He also used opening credits in yellow font, which are accompanied by freeze frames, and closing credits being played over a still image of the final scene. I love it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the man behind this movie real quick. Ty West was born in Wilmington, Delaware in 1980, where he grew up watching as many movies as he could between TV and his local video store. From a young age, he fell in love with filmmaking, even creating short stop-motion films with his G.I. Joes when he was a kid, which eventually landed him a spot at New York School of the Visual Arts for film and production. West's first feature production was called The Roost, which is a 1970s throwback horror film about a group of friends on their way to a wedding who gets stuck on a creepy farm, followed by a film named Triggerman. Now, despite his success, Ty West doesn't like to be called a horror director. Surprisingly, he is a fan of many other genres, even claiming that the one movie he wished that he had made was Citizen Kane. This makes sense when you think back to Pearl and Maxine, because unlike X, they were both like 1 foot in horror, 1 foot in something else.
Yeah, and a big thing with Ty West movies that can really highlight that whole statement is a lot of his movies, the first half of them are not horror movies.
Yeah.
They turn into horror movies, but he hates the horror movie tropes and people being able to figure out the movie as they're watching it. But he almost wants to make a movie that is, you forget it's a horror movie. That way, when the actual horror starts to happen, it catches you by surprise.
So House of the Devil was West's third movie where his strategy was to fashion a film that is normal and even a little mundane in the first half and then changes gears to become a horror movie for the second half, which is coincidence you just said that. Now, he did admit this could have easily come across as gimmicky, but it actually works extremely well because he kept the overly horrific events at bay, allowing tension and a sense of dread to build organically. So, The House of the Devil had its world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival on April 25th of 2009, where on October 1st of 2009, it was made available through VOD. And right before Halloween, on October 30th of that same year, it was given a limited theatrical release in the US, where it received an approval rating of 85% based on 101 reviews and an average rating of 7.1 out of 10. One critic stated, "Though its underlining themes are familiar, House of the Devil effectively sheds the loud and gory cliches of contemporary horror to deliver a tense, slowly building throwback to the fright flicks of the decades past, with even some comparing it to The Omen and Rosemary's Baby." I think those are two very good comparisons, especially Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, I know. From the very first time that me and you talked about this movie, that was the one comparison that the first one that always came to mind was Rosemary's Baby. Like, even watching this trailer, the way it's shot and the feel of it and what the story is about just feels so fucking Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic movie.
Yeah. I honestly, if they were going to remake it again, because I'm pretty sure they've remade it already and it wasn't that good, have Ty West do it. I think he would do a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I don't think there's many people who could do it and do it as good. I think the issue would come there with the big studio would be Ty West would want to make it as vintage as possible, and a big studio would say, well, we want to take the same story and make it on this 4K awesome digital cameras that we have now, and I think that would be the issue and what would stop somebody like Ty West ever getting that spot.
So Roger Ebert gave it 3 out of 4 stars, surprising, complimenting its use of subtlety and tension as being an introduction for some audience members to the Hitchcockian definition of suspense. Film critic Joe Bob Briggs praised the film as just a superb, slow burn, extremely well-crafted movie. The DVD and Blu-ray of the film were released on February 2nd of 2010, along with a promotional copy of the film that was released on VHS in a clamshell box like the ones that many early VHS films of the 1980s came in. And last but not least, both Umbrella Entertainment and Second Sight released Blu-rays of this film in 2025, with Second Sight's featuring a 70-page book with essays and behind-the-scenes photo galleries, new interviews with Ty West, Jocelyn Donahue, and AJ Bowen, and audio commentaries.
So Second Sight, actually, I watched videos on comparing these two box sets because I recently purchased it, and it really what it came down to, I really like the artwork on Umbrellas. I love all of Umbrella's releases. I think Second Sights are great too, but Umbrellas just seem to have a slight edge. But I ended up going with Second Sights because it was readily available. You could order it straight from them. Still, it's not sold out. And I do not regret that because they did so many more new interviews than what they even talk about. And whenever they were pushing this for sale, like, I mean, there is down to the Foley artist, the composer, the director of photography, Ty West, all of the main characters and actresses. They literally interviewed the executive producer, the guy who runs Glass Eye Pix. That dude talked forever. I couldn't even finish his interview. And another producer, and learned so much amazing information.
Awesome. All right, so ratings, Rotten Tom, 86%. One of the highest we have ever come across. IMDb, a 6.3 out of 10. Letterboxd, a disappointing 3.3 out of 5. And the Google average audience rating is a 4.1 out of 5. That's actually surprising. I wouldn't assume that a lot of people looking to watch a horror movie would rate this at 4.1 because it does have a lot of slow stuff in the beginning.
Yeah,
Very slow film.
I think that's why we see such a big vast difference between like Letterboxd and something like Rotten Tomatoes is you really have to be into film and the timepiece element and the cinematography and the score to really appreciate this movie. If you're one of those people who just like really fast-paced movies and you don't like slow-paced stuff and you don't give a fuck about the art that goes into it, this is not a movie for you. And that's fine. There's a lot of people like that.
So if you would like to watch this movie, you can currently find it streaming for free on Tubi, Pluto TV, Fandango, Plex, Amazon Prime, and for rent on Google Play and Apple TV for $3.99. This movie is streaming for free all over. So you definitely can check it out and totally not pay any money for it. All right, so you ready to dive into the plot of House of the Devil?
I am ready.
All right, so right off the bat, before we even meet a single character, the film opens with a title card that reads, "During the 1980s, over 70% of American adults believed in the existence of abusive satanic cults. Another 30% rationalized the lack of evidence due to government cover-ups. The following is based on true unexplained events." And just like that, Ty West has already planted a seed of dread in the back of your brain before a single frame has appeared on screen, which is exactly what classic horror films like The Amityville Horror and The Texas Chainsaw Massacre did way back in the day. And this is such a smart move because I think it immediately makes you feel connected to this film because you're emotionally associating this with those other films that you love or grew up with.
Yeah, so there's not an actual story that this is based on. It's just a basis of everything that was going on at the time. And I've seen a lot of people complaining about that they felt like that was like a kind of just to hook the audience. But they're missing out on the whole point of it being an homage to the 80s horror.
It's paying homage to the movies that they thought were based on true events back then, and we found out later they weren't.
Yeah, that was a staple of a ton of massively successful horror from the 80s and late 70s.
So we are then introduced to our main character, who is a young college student named Samantha. And Samantha is exactly the kind of person you want to see survive a horror film. She is quiet, sweet, and has a bit of a girl next door vibe going on. And as we are about to find out, she is currently dealing with a pretty stressful situation because she has just found the perfect one-bedroom apartment close to her school. She has already met the landlord, who seems super laid back and is played by horror icon Dee Wallace, and agreed to pay first month's rent on Monday, except she doesn't have it. And after officially agreeing to the verbal rental agreement with landlady Dee Wallace, Samantha walks down the street with a big smile on her face when we then hear some 80s guitar kick in, the picture freezes, and boom, we get the title card House of the Devil in big, bold, retro yellow font, and this opening just screams 1980s. The grainy film stock, the font choices, the soundtrack, everything about it feels like you just popped in a dusty old VHS tape from a garage sale, which is perfect and absolutely intentional. Ty West nails it here.
Yeah, I mean, you literally can put this movie in for somebody who knows nothing about it, and they would 100% think that this was made in the 80s.
Yes.
And that's what him and the cinematographer, Elliot Rocket, really went for, was that they didn't want a modern timepiece. They wanted a timepiece that literally people couldn't tell the difference between, down to like whenever they had to decide whether they're going to use 16 millimeter or 35. And quickly realized they didn't have the money for 35.
Yeah.
They were going to have to use 16, which was the same case a lot of movies in the 80s were in. So that was fine. And then it was Fuji or Kodak. And I guess Fuji really has that kind of dulled down color scheme that a lot of 80s horror used. And it's just, man, it is indistinguishable from an 80s horror movie.
Yeah, when we first started researching everything for this movie, I bought the Second Sight box set, and I was reading about it, and I seen a lot of people were complaining that they didn't do it in 4K. And thankfully, there was some people that responded and were like, you're missing the point. Like, this movie can't be upscaled into 4K. It would ruin a big part of what makes the movie the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's crazy that just goes over so many people's heads. It's supposed to look like this.
Yeah, and it doesn't look bad. It's not like they had the limitations of what TVs and stuff could do in the 80s, so it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look like, we pop in movies from the 80s that have been upscaled in 4K, and it cleans up the grain and makes the colors and everything look sharper. It looks like that. It just looks like a already upscaled movie. You can't upscale it any more than this without making it a modern film.
Yeah, a movie like this, I want some grain.
Yeah.
I want film grain in this.
That was done intentional. That's part of the movie.
So Samantha has finally locked down the perfect place, but there is a big problem. She is completely and totally broke. Like, not just a little short on the rent, we are talking digging through couch cushions, counting change, eating the leftovers of the leftovers kind of broke. And to make matters even worse, her current living situation is not helping because her roommate is an absolute nightmare. We're talking about the kind of person who brings random guys back to the room at all hours, leaves the room constantly trashed with beer cans and used condoms, and genuinely makes Samantha's life a living hell. So yeah, she needs this apartment and she needs it bad. So while trying to figure out how she is going to come up with the $300 by Monday, she spots a flyer on a bulletin board advertising a babysitting job. And as a broke college student with very few options, she immediately tears off the number and gives it a call. Man, no wonder there were so many serial killers back then. Like, shit like this is sketchy.
Yeah. And, it really makes sense to later on in the story when you find out, why they called it a babysitting job. And all with the satanic panic going on, you would really have a hard time during this time getting people to do a job like this. One thing I want to point out on this bulletin board, I seen it the first time I watched this movie, and I cannot fucking unsee it. There's a guy was looking for his cat. It's this missing cat, if you've seen, call this number, and it's his professional done family photo with him and his cat.
Oh, man. I didn't catch that.
It is fucking hilarious.
That's funny.
And then the other great thing about this scene is the payphone. So coming up, like, we seen payphones when we were kids. They were still around, and they were beat the fuck up. Like, every payphone was kind of fucked up and trashy. And this payphone is brand new looking. And that really stuck out to me because I've never seen a brand new payphone.
Yeah, good point.
And I was like, damn, man, they had attention to detail in this movie to have a new looking payphone.
Yeah.
Something that people haven't seen since the 80s.
So she then calls the number on the flyer where a man answers and introduces himself as Mr. Ullman. And immediately this guy just has a weird vibe. Now, he's very polite, very soft-spoken, and extremely eager to meet with Samantha right now, agreeing to meet at a building across campus. But when Samantha shows up to the arranged meeting spot, nobody is there and nobody ever shows up. So she waits around for a while, but after a couple hours, she finally realizes nobody's coming. So she says, fuck this, and she goes out for some pizza. And it is at this point where we meet Samantha's best friend, Megan. Megan is the kind of best friend everybody wishes they had. She is outgoing, funny, fiercely loyal, and she does not take shit from anybody. Not to mention, she is also the yang to Samantha's yin. See, where Samantha is quiet and cautious, Megan is loud and fearless. And from the moment we meet her, it is very clear that she's the kind of person who will do absolutely anything for the people she cares about. So Samantha tells Megan about the babysitting job, and Megan immediately does not like the sound of it. Something about the whole situation just rubs her the wrong way, like the missed meeting, the weird guy on the phone, the flyer on the bulletin board. It just gives her bad vibes. So she tries to convince her that it was a bad idea, but Samantha, who is staring down the barrel of first month's rent that she definitely can't afford, blows off her concerns considering the guy didn't show up anyway. I don't know if you caught this, but when Megan is talking about looking for a job, she mentions a bulletin board at the school, and she says, that hand face girl told me there's some good stuff on there sometimes. What the fuck does hand face girl mean? Like, does her face resemble a hand? Was there an accident where her hand crushed her face and now she's deformed? Like, I need to know. You know what that is.
Yeah, they never explained that. I assumed that she was, like, just, like, really fucked up looking, like she had some type of deformity.
But what does that have to do with a hand?
Or somebody just, like, slapped the fuck out of her in, like, middle school, and that's
handprint.
She just got the fucking nickname or something.
I also want to point out how fucking on point the set decoration in this pizza place is. Like, this took me back, dude. Like, the orange trays, the wood paneling on the walls. They have that shitty light up menu board with, like, the dirty yellow plastic. This is a 10 out of 10 set.
The set here, this makes sense for you and me, but Hot Wheels.
Oh, yeah.
The tables and the layout, there's a in our family Hot Wheels skating rink here where we live, and holy shit, it like resembled the inside of this place so fucking close. And they just did such an amazing job. Another like really, really interesting detail that comes back later in the film is Megan talks about how the pizza tastes like shit today. And it's just a real small detail that comes back later in the film.
So after pizza with Megan, she then heads back to the dorm, and as soon as she walks in, she gets a call from Mr. Ullman, who is very apologetic about missing the meeting and asks if she would still be willing to take the job. And after she hesitates, he doubles the pay, and Samantha agrees. We then cut to Samantha jumping into Megan's car, where they head out to the address Mr. Ullman gave them, and as they drive, the town slowly gives way to empty countryside, with empty countryside slowly giving way to this long, winding road surrounded by nothing but trees. And it's getting darker and more isolated the further they go, making Megan more and more paranoid about this sketchy-ass plan. And while they are driving, we hear on the radio that at 10:30 tonight, there's going to be a really cool, very rare eclipse, which is exactly what the Ullmans need this babysitter for. So they finally pull up to this massive old Victorian house sitting at the end of a long, dark road. And this house is fucking huge and beautiful. I love a Gothic house, man.
Yeah, the fact that they found this, and they actually had to the first company that they hired to do the like find the good set places to filming locations, they actually found this very early on. And I was thinking like, man, they ended up firing that company and rehiring a different one for all the other filming locations. But I was like, how lucky to come across this house in the modern day. Holy shit, like this house is beautiful, but this would be a house that if I was buying a house and I drove past it, I would be like, I have to look at this fucking house.
Yeah. So, interesting thing, that house actually has an IMDb page because some stuff had been filmed there before, but it was back in like 70s, 80s.
Okay, that makes a little more sense of maybe why that first smaller company that they hired was able to find this house.
Yeah, I think House of the Devil was like the 5th thing ever filmed. It has 4 other productions on its page. So yeah, it's filled with beautiful dark wood, tall windows, and surrounded by a pitch black forest. It's the kind of house that looks like it has seen many families come and go, and also very clearly does not get a lot of visitors. So they knock on the door, and a few moments later, it slowly swings open, and standing in the doorway is Mr. Ullman. And Mr. Ullman is really fucking tall. Like, way too tall.
Hey, he reminds me so much of the tall man from Phantasm, just in this first scene where you can't see his face, but all you can see is the suit and the cane. He's so tall.
This is kind of tall that makes me feel uncomfortable. Like,
quit being so damn tall.
he gives off like Lurch vibes, almost, because he's opening the door. And it's weird because she, like, the top of Samantha and Megan's heads are like barely above his waist, like belly button. And I'm like, is like the floor raised up or something? There's no way he's that fucking tall.
Yeah, he's fucking tall.
Goddamn monsters live here. So yeah, he is a tall, thin, older man with silver hair, impeccable manners, and a very disarming smile. He's dressed nicely, speaks softly, and comes across as completely harmless, minus his gigantic height. So Mr. Ullman invites them inside, where he then drops a bit of a bomb on Samantha. Because as it turns out, there is no baby to sit. What he actually needs is someone to keep an eye on his elderly mother-in-law, who is staying with them in the house for the evening while he and his wife go out. He is then very apologetic about the lie, explaining that he was worried no one would respond to the ad if they knew the truth, and because he is so sorry, he offers Samantha $300 for one night's work. Samantha, who really needs the money for rent, pauses for a moment, looks at Mr. Ullman, and then demands $400, to which Ullman agrees. We then immediately cut to Megan storming out of the house, upset at her friend for taking the job, with Samantha running after her trying to smooth things over. After a bit of a debate, Megan reluctantly agrees to leave her there, promising Samantha she'll be back to pick her up later.
For one, so the guy who plays the fucking Mr. Ullman, the super tall guy, when he finds out, because he tells her, we're essentially not paying 2 people tonight, which is a red flag if nobody ever mentioned you paying 2 people. But the look on his face when she says, no, that's just my friend who gave me a ride because I don't have a car. It's almost like a light bulb goes off in his head, like she's going to be trapped here with no car. And that was major, major red flag. And then also, it's so fucking sad to see how concerned and legitimately like upset that her friend is at her for doing this because it's so sketchy. Like, it really was like, damn, man, she's such a good friend. I really feel bad.
Yeah, definitely. Megan is a fantastic friend. Like I said, a friend that pretty much everybody would want. And she's played by Greta Gerwig, who, I don't know if you know, is like a major award-winning director now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she directed, I believe it's Lady Bird for A24. Won a ton of awards.
Yeah, he's, Ty West said when he wrote this, he pretty much wrote her character already having cast her.
Yeah.
He did make her do like audition just for the producers because Glass Eye Pix had brought on some other producers from another production company that they didn't work with. And he said he didn't want to feel like he was just, making the decisions without, having the producers in the loop. But everybody that's seen her was just instantly like, yeah, she's the one.
She has a lot of charisma. Yeah, I did find out too. I guess that style of movie that she did, it's called mumblecore, which I thought sounded like some kind of music, but yeah.
It does. Sounds like
but it's
music.
It's a type of film where it's very slow burn, doesn't necessarily follow a strict plot. Some people hate it, which, I get that. So we then follow Megan as she speeds off down the road when she soon pulls over into a local graveyard to smoke a cigarette and calm down a bit. And while waiting on her push-in car lighter, a stranger suddenly walks over and puts a Zippo in her window, scaring Megan half to death. The strange man apologizes and said that he was just trying to be nice, but during their short conversation, he discovers that Megan isn't the babysitter, which definitely changes his tone. And right as she begins to explain that she is the babysitter's friend, the man quickly pulls out a gun, blowing Megan's brains out all over the inside of the car before she even gets a chance to realize what is happening. Megan's face is instantly destroyed as we then see her limp body fall over into the passenger seat, with most of the windshield now covered in blood and brain matter. This shit shocked the hell out of me the first time I saw this movie, and it happened so fast that it's still a bit jarring even though I know it's coming.
Yeah, I love this scene.
Yes.
Just because it's one of those, like, and Ty West talks about this, he hates when he goes to see a movie and he can figure out what's going to happen. Like, he, made the comparison when you're, like, closing the medicine cabinet mirror and something's going to be behind it. And then if it's not there, it's going to be there when they turn around. Like, he doesn't ever want to outsmart a movie. He says a movie is failing if you as the viewer are outsmarting the movie. So to have a scene like this that's going to completely take you off guard, and the first thing I thought about whenever I was thinking of comparisons for this scene is Hereditary, when the girl gets her fucking head knocked off, how like shocking that is. And I love that as a viewer to be able to, as many movies as we watch and deep dive, to be legitimately taken back by a scene.
Yeah, I bet you he hates Blumhouse movies. I bet he despises.
Well, he talked about a little bit, with the movies that had come out the previous year, and talking about, it was during him explaining how he hates, outsmarting a movie, and they were asking him about the trailer. Do you think the trailer's misleading because it shows all this action and it's really more of a slow burn, especially the first half of the movie? And he said, no, I love the trailer. I actually cut the trailer, and I don't feel like it's wrong if I have to use the trailer to, like, hook people in, and you can call it gimmicky if you want. But he said, when people stop paying to go see shitty movies that do the same thing over and over again, then we won't have to do things like this. He's like, maybe my next trailer can represent the movie that I make better. But as long as people are paying to go see the same shit, big studios are going to continue to make the same shit. And it's funny because when this movie came out, we've talked about it on the show. This was the worst time of horror.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, this was like a time where, especially ghost movies, all of them were the same. It was like, outside of a couple outliers, most movies were the same thing.
Same formula, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same fucking batch of cookies with a different label on it and delivered. And yeah, so I would imagine with what he said there, Blumhouse probably is not his favorite studio.
So we then jump back to Samantha in this massive old house with the Ullmans and the mystery lady somewhere upstairs. Mr. Ullman gives her a quick tour of the main floor, pointing out the kitchen, the living room, and the phone, and letting her know that she is welcome to order some pizza from the local restaurant. He then heads upstairs where Samantha hears him talking to someone when suddenly Mrs. Ullman walks in from the basement, claiming that she was down there looking for her fur coats. Now, what's weird is Mr. Ullman just told her that his wife was upstairs. So there's definitely some weird shit going on here. So after they talk for a bit, Mr. Ullman comes down where they then say their goodbyes to Samantha and tell her that they will be back later that evening. And they then grab their coats and head out the door, leaving her completely alone with this old mystery woman upstairs. And this is where Ty West really gets to work, because what follows is a long, quiet, deeply unsettling stretch of Samantha just being alone in this creepy house. And on paper, that doesn't sound super entertaining, but in execution, it is an absolute masterclass in tension building. Because Ty West understands that what you don't see is sometimes scarier than what you do see. And as we are about to see here, he lets the camera linger on empty hallways, closed doors, dark staircases leading up to a second floor where this lady's supposedly resting. And I think that is a big part of the charm when it comes to this film.
Yeah, I want to point out Mrs. Ullman is creepy as fuck.
Yes.
And extremely intimidating. She starts talking about how she looks too young to be in college and how, like, beautiful she is and how much basically
She's almost hitting on her.
Young guys want to fuck her, and as she goes to start caressing her head when her husband interrupts her. Super, super creepy. The lady who played her, that was the lady that he had to go, like, convince to come out of retirement. I forgot the actress's name. But, yeah, and then on top of that, there is a very small detail that is very important to the story, and it's Mr. Ullman on the way out the door for the third time mentions the pizza.
Yes.
That the number for the pizza is on the fridge.
He actually comes back.
Yeah, that becomes important. That was the third time he mentions that in their brief conversation.
By the way, the shot right after they get in the car and leave, where the camera is pointed up at the sky, because like the eclipse, and it slowly zooms out while that creepy music plays, that is a classic shot.
Yeah.
I love these shots. So after that, Samantha does what any normal person would do in this situation. She explores a little, and then she calls Megan just to check in and chat. But to her surprise, Megan isn't home yet. And as soon as she hangs up the phone, that awkward, unsettling feeling returns, which causes her to call up the pizza place and order some comfort food. Pizza, what you eating? The whole pizza thing, man, like, is there pizza places that literally deliver, like, in the middle of fucking nowhere? Like, I would think that was kind of weird. Like, if I just drove hours out there and be like, where's this fucking pizza place coming from?
Well, I would think it's about an hour drive because she does try to call Megan pretty early on. But what she didn't know is Megan actually felt so bad about leaving her that she had pulled into the cemetery next door, refusing to leave her friend back there before she got unexpectedly shot in the fucking face. But yeah, this whole part of the film is where we get, I think it's where we're saying Ty West really gets to work. We just get like a fucking 10, 15 minutes of just awesome, like 80s nostalgic zoom in and zoom out shots. Like her checking this house out, we get a whole walkthrough of that. And if you really pay attention, this is telling a story in the background. And I'll touch on it more at the end of the episode. But yeah, it's just fucking like phenomenal, like almost collage of shots from the 80s.
Well, there's about at least 20 minutes of this part of the movie where everything else is more important than the story. Sound, visual, what she's doing, little things happen in the back, how something is put, the set itself. Everything else becomes more important than the story right here.
Well, there's no dialogue too. Yeah. So that's when the score really comes into play. And also, like, you really got to pay attention. So there was 5 minutes of this whole part of the movie that the other production company, not Glass Pix, but the other one tried to get them to cut out of the final. And Ty West fought for the 5 minutes. And it's because it really tells a story that is revealed later on in the plot. But if you take that 5 minutes out, that whole, like, just kind of sneaky way of telling this story is completely taken out.
Yeah. So once she has tried to call her friend and ordered the pizza, she's pretty much stuck with nothing to keep her busy or help the time go by faster. And to make matters even worse, the house is way too still and quiet. which of course makes her feel even more uneasy. She then explores a little more and also turns on some lamps to light up the dim house and at least hear the sound of the buzzing electricity. And the whole time this is going on, we, the viewer, are also starting to feel this uneasy feeling, which is, of course, on purpose because Ty West is quietly building this atmosphere of dread. Like little things that are slightly off, the quiet buzz from the lamps, the loudness of Samantha's footsteps, and how noticeable the sound of her coat material like swooshing is. Or like a sound from somewhere upstairs that could be anything or it could be nothing. And we get these static shots where Samantha walks in and out of a room multiple times, where we hear little thumps and bangs in the distance, and it leaves you wondering if this is her making these noises or is it something else, because we still do not know what exactly is upstairs.
This is also where the house being a central character of the movie really takes over. And that's why I said this is like the fact that they found this house was so amazing, because this house is one of those houses that if I bought this house, it would be a house that you would instantly fall in love with. But also when you're there at night and it's quiet and it's dark and nobody else is home and you hear creaks upstairs, you would get freaked out.
Oh, 100%.
Even though you loved your house, you would still be like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Oh, another thing is the lighting also drives this point even further. Because if you pay attention, there is a lot of times where she turns on a light in a room, but it doesn't illuminate the whole room. And we tend to get one or two corners that remain extremely dark, which makes our, human brains immediately wonder what could be hiding in those corners.
Yeah, that's one thing that the cinematographer, Elliot Rocket, who works with Ty West on everything he does now, he mentioned that they wanted to make this such a good timepiece and realistic timepiece that they actually only used lighting from the 70s that was used on movies, to the point where there was lighting and boom mics and all these different things that they wanted that was used on movies that aren't used anymore, that whenever production started, they got on eBay and just had to search for all these different like lighting fixtures and different things that they used on movies, to the point where eBay is in the special things.
Wow. So Samantha wanders around some more, where she ends up finally hearing movement upstairs, which causes her to head up there to just check it out and make sure everything is okay with this old bitch. And after a bit more exploring, she finds herself standing outside the door of the room where the mother-in-law is supposedly sleeping. And while standing there, she remains perfectly still and just listens. And for a long moment, she hears absolutely nothing. Like, I know we're probably starting to sound like, film nerds here, but all of these zoom in shots from outside where we see Samantha looking out the windows, I fucking love them. Just like the one you were talking about.
It's the Black Christmas shots.
Yeah, and they touch on a nostalgia that I didn't even know I had.
Yeah, the shots here are amazing. As she's going through this house, you start like looking. There's a particular bedroom that she goes into, and there's like this Western wallpaper. And
it's like a kid's room, yeah.
Awful, and it's definitely a kid's room. And there's actually a telescope set up at the window, and you don't know if that's a kid's telescope or something that these creepy people who are clearly have some type of like very high interest in this lunar eclipse that's going on. They've been watching. They've been star watching out of here. But it's just small, ambiguous things like that are kind of telling a story in the background.
So after that, she then heads back downstairs where she tries to do some schoolwork, but it is just too quiet and uneasy, leading to her giving that up and putting her books away, when suddenly she hears something scratching or tapping at the window. It is a sound that she can't quite identify, forcing her to get up and look outside, but all she sees is the blackness of night, where she finally says, "Fuck this," and cuts on the TV. So we're immediately introduced to Channel 13 News, where they are doing a story on the big lunar eclipse, which apparently is going to cause 2 hours of almost complete blackout later on. This doesn't interest her at all, prompting her to cut off the TV and listen to her Walkman, where we then get some upbeat music as Samantha plays around and explores the house, but this time without all the eerie silence. And what's funny here is this is almost as much of a relief for us, the viewer, as it is her. And it's interesting because nothing has technically happened yet. Nobody's jumped out at her. Nobody's threatened her. The house is quiet. The Ullmans are, pleasant. But Ty West has done such a great job of building the atmosphere in this place by this point in the film. Your stomach is already in knots because you know something is wrong. You know something or someone is upstairs, and you know the Ullmans are hiding something. We just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, I love how the breaking point here before she turns the music on is she does turn on the news, and the news is going off for them to play a horror movie.
Yeah.
And it's like she just can't escape no matter what she does. And it's really interesting that you mentioned that it is almost a relief to you when the music starts and she kind of starts this dancing thing. And it's weird and it's out of place, but it is, now that you pointed out, it is a relief because there's so much tension built already.
Yeah, you're almost holding your breath for like 20 minutes. And this is like, oh, I can breathe. You know? So as the tension dissipates from the house, Samantha continues to dance to the music, where she eventually bumps a vase which falls and breaks, and as she is cleaning it up, something tells her to open the closet door in front of her, where she finds a bunch of fur coats, which of course doesn't add up because Miss Ullman said that her coats were down in the basement. So if she lied and the coats are up here, what's down there? Now, obviously, this sets off a red flag to Samantha, where she then notices a trash bag stuffed under the coats, which is full of framed family photos of another family. And to make matters even worse, the last picture is of this mystery family standing in front of this exact house and the same red car she saw the Ullmans get into and drive away an hour ago. And slowly, piece by piece, Samantha starts to realize that something in this house is very, very wrong, prompting her to attempt to call Megan again, but she is still not answering, which is when Samantha starts to panic, grabbing a butcher knife from the kitchen and realizing that her friend was probably right.
Yeah. Even if you try to rationalize the picture and you try to look at them and see if it looks like a younger version of the Ullmans mentioned that they haven't been here long.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be like time for family photos that have built up, even if it was like close family to them that just live in the house, but they didn't mention. There's no time for any of that to even make sense. So no matter how you look at this, it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. So it is at this point where she suddenly hears a loud thump from upstairs, prompting her to freeze, remain completely still, and listen, where she then hears the same sound a few more times. And it's almost like someone is moving around right above her. And after a few minutes, she has no doubt that someone is on the second floor, and it doesn't sound like some bedridden old lady. She then cautiously investigates, but doesn't actually go into the elderly woman's room. But while she stands outside the door and listens, we get a shot of what's in there, and it ain't no gray-haired grandma with a tray full of cookies. It's a fucking large pentagram painted on the floor with a dead child mutilated and sacrificed in the middle, with his deceased parents laying a few feet away, having had their throats slit. And yes, this is the family from the pictures that Samantha just found, meaning this definitely isn't the Ullman's house, and they've obviously murdered these people, moved in, and are planning some kind of satanic ritual tonight during the eclipse, but we still don't know what they need Samantha for. And keep in mind, she doesn't open that door, so she has no idea what is going on here. And this is such an excellent reveal because it gives us some big answers, like kind of what's going on, but it still leaves us with questions. And honestly, man, the tone is perfect. The music, the lighting, the makeup on the actors, like this whole thing is frightening.
Yeah, this scene really justifies our tension. Like, so this reveal really justifies all this tension that we've been having inside of us, but also it makes it even worse because we now know Samantha has no fucking idea what's behind that door, which was the biggest tension building thing for me. Was to make things worse, there's still this old lady, supposedly an old lady, somewhere in this house that we know is alive, and we don't know what the fuck it is, and we know it's in there with Samantha, and we now know that there's satanic shit going on too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really bad stuff, and the younger guy who killed Megan, we know he's still kind of creeping around as well, and we know that this is getting really bad.
Yeah, this is the point in the movie where the rest of the movie we were with Megan. You're almost side by side with her as she experienced this tension and what's going on here. And this is the point in the movie where we're no longer, next to her. We actually are on the other side of the fence where we kind of know a little bit about what's going on. And now we're kind of fearing every corner she turns.
Yeah,
and she has no clue.
Yeah, we have a bird's eye view now, as opposed to her view.
So after that, Samantha hears more banging coming from above, meaning the attic, which causes her to go check that out. But right after she takes the first creaky step, she damn near has a heart attack when the doorbell rings because the pizza man has finally arrived. And it turns out the plot thickens because the pizza man is the same guy who murdered Megan in the graveyard, meaning he is obviously in on it. So at this point, Samantha is trying to calm down and convince herself that this is all in her head and everything is totally normal, where she then sits down and eats some pizza, but soon realizes the slice tastes a little weird, prompting her to throw it away. I couldn't really tell what was going on with the sink. Like, she spits this pizza out and she rinses her mouth out with water when she suddenly notices this hissing sound in the sink, but I couldn't tell what that was supposed to be.
She can hear this almost like constant dripping in the pipes, and I assume that this is where she starts going and checking through the house. She can hear some type of noise with the pipes. It sounds like there's essentially like water running or dripping somewhere else in the house, echoing through the pipes. Now, when she takes a bite of the pizza and she's like, kind of puts it down like it's nasty and goes to spit it out, that's why I say I love the shot early in the movie with Megan, she does the same thing when they go to that same pizza place and she says the pizza tastes like shit today. And that's Ty West kind of putting, if you didn't catch that the guy who delivered the pizza was the same guy who killed her friend, or even if you did catch that, you're still wondering, like, is the pizza poisoned? Or is this just in Samantha's head because of what Megan said earlier today, and now she's really freaked out?
Well, it's kind of like a Chekhov's gun, a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, Samantha hears this sound from the sink, which causes her to go back upstairs to investigate some more, which is where we get even more awesome atmosphere and tension building. So at this point, she finally makes it up to the attic, but right when she turns the light on, it trips the breaker, causing all the lights in the house to go out. And this coincides perfectly with the eclipse, as we then get a shot of the last slither of the moon being covered up, making it even more pitch black. When we come back to Samantha, we see that she is standing there in a narrow, dark stairway right in front of the main attic door, where she notices some kind of light shining through along with approaching footsteps. The door then slowly starts to open, revealing a creepy pale hand, but right before this person reveals himself, Samantha starts to get disoriented, where she eventually passes out while trying to escape.
So, dude, the clumps of hair, I gotta point that out. Super creepy. Anytime you find like clumps of hair in a tub, which is what she was hearing the water dripping out of in the pipes. But this whole like her about to pass out, the score and the fucking cinematography here are so it's like 80s suspense. It is the absolute perfect top right before you hit that climax.
Well, when she pulls that cord for that light in the attic hallway and the whole, like, it's like a camera flash and the whole house goes out, like, that's kind of jarring to you as a viewer.
And it happens at the same time that the eclipse happens, and it makes you wonder, like, did that light trip the breaker, or did that guy cut the entire power as soon as the eclipse started?
Yeah, possibly.
I do know in filming, that was one of the things that Ty West said was one of the most difficult things of the entire filming process was getting all of those fucking lights in the house to cut out at once. And I don't know what it was with the breaker, how it was wired, but they weren't able to just shut one breaker down because it's an older house. So they had to like manually do it and time it.
Jeez.
And it was a fucking nightmare.
Wow. So she then wakes up sometime later, where we see that she is now in the basement, dressed differently, gagged and tied up on the floor. And as soon as she realizes what is going on, she immediately starts freaking out as the camera pans back, revealing that she is restrained in the middle of the pentagram, surrounded by candles, symbols, and the kind of imagery that immediately tells you exactly what kind of people the Ullmans are. And it's safe to say she is terrified, as we then see the Ullmans and the pizza guy dressed in robes walk out and surround her, which is soon followed by a pale half-demon, half-human creature guy, and he walks out and he paints a symbol on her stomach in blood. He then drains some of his blood into a goat skull and makes her drink it, but she then manages to break free one of her arms, smacking the creature in the face, where he screams like a little bitch. She quickly unties herself, grabbing the ceremonial dagger and stabbing Mr. Ullman as she runs past, but as soon as she starts puking up some of the blood, she gets attacked by the pizza man, leading her to gouge out his eye during the struggle.
Dude, so I initially thought that creature, for one, super creepy. Like, that fucking thing is horrifying.
Yeah.
I thought they did an amazing job, because you gotta have something super creepy for what the viewers have been thinking has been in this house the whole time with her. And that was a 100% payoff. I also thought that it screamed when she hits it in the face, but when I watched it back last time, that thing's laughing. Like, it's laughing at her.
I thought it was screaming.
Like, it's like the ritual is complete. Like, there's nothing you can do. It's too late. It's like laughing in her face.
I'll have to go back and watch that. So once she manages to escape the basement, she ends up tripping on Megan's body in the kitchen, falling in a huge puddle of her blood. Despite this bad news, she pretty quickly gets back up, grabs the knife off the counter, and continues to run, eventually being chased upstairs by the pizza man. I hate to do this to you, because once I point this out, there's no way to unsee it.
Oh God, we were just talking about the laugh of the demon, and I thought about the fucking dildo laugh from the
Chenard.
fucking Hellraiser too.
Yeah, so I noticed this like 3 watches ago. I've known this for a while.
It's like me with the cat, the professional cat guy picture. I never unsee it.
So the pizza guy here is dressed exactly like a Jedi. He's literally dressed just like Obi-Wan Kenobi. How did they not pick up on that before filming? I got a picture.
Oh, God. He just needs a lightsaber, man.
Dude,
He
like,
got a beard like
I
Obi-Wan and
know.
everything.
It's dead on, dude.
That's
They
funny.
didn't notice that? He's dressed as one of the, like, film's most famous characters.
So it's funny because they actually had you say how did they not notice he was dressed like that? So they actually had a stunt guy also dressed exactly
So
like
2
that.
times?
So there was a huge controversy with one of the on-the-ground producer that works with Ty West on a lot of his movies. They had a stunt here in the original script. This guy was supposed to, like, fall over the banister and die. Like, he was supposed to hit the ground and die when it gets cut. And Ty West was just like, "No." Like, just out of the blue, he's like, "Nope. I don't wanna do it." Like, the movie doesn't need it, and the dude was just like, I don't know why, but he had just decided that the movie didn't need it, and he didn't wanna deal with, like, if the time that it would take, but they had a stuntman, literally, they had went back and forth about this fucking stunt so much that this guy had actually called the producer, the head guy over Glass Eye Picks, and was like, "Dude, you gotta call Ty and tell him that this needs to be done. We've already hired the stunt guy. It's gonna be awesome." Ty West was just like, "No, we're not fucking shooting it." And to the point where they had this stunt guy, literally, they had 2 guys with the beard dressed like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
The 2 of the Obi twins.
There and still didn't notice it.
It's dead on. Like, I mean, I don't know how closer that you could really get.
Yeah.
Yeah, lightsaber would be it, but yeah, dude, so I hate to do that to you because now every time you watch this movie, you are going to see that, and that is one thing, like, every fucking time I see this movie, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi running through the hallways of this house, and it's just, you can't go back.
Obi-Wan with the revolver.
Yeah. So anyway, Pizza Man catches up with her in the hallway where he ends up shooting her in the shoulder, causing her to fall on the floor, screaming in pain. He then walks closer to deliver the kill shot when suddenly Samantha slashes the knife in his direction, slicing his throat. Okay, so 2 things here. Why was he going to kill her? They need her to have this baby. She can still have the, like, Antichrist with the shoulder wound, but, like, I would assume she can't give birth if she's dead.
Well, I think he was trying to stop her. She can't die at this point, and that's what the older lady tells her here in a moment you're about to get to, but she's like, "It's too late. It's gonna work in spite of you, you fucking bitch." Like, basically, like, once that ceremony took place, there was nothing she could do. So I think he was just trying to stop her and subdue her.
Well, he was walking up, like, he's already got the gun cocked again, and he's, like, literally starting to point the gun when he walks up to her. Which brings me to my second point. Why the fuck would you get closer to shoot her? That's what a gun is for, so you can kill people from far away. It's not a fucking lightsaber, you loser. Not to be 2 feet away.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of a gun.
Well, and maybe he wasn't going to shoot her again. Maybe it was to scare her and try to subdue her. I will say, when he pulls out the gun, I forget about the gun. So it threw me off guard. When she gets shot, I was like, "Oh, fuck, there's guns in this."
Yeah.
I mean, I forgot. This guy's got a gun.
He forgot he had the high ground. So yeah, he's dead. But the fun's not over with yet, as a now traumatized Samantha hears Miss Ullman coming up the stairs, prompting her to run and hide in the attic. And I am ashamed to admit it. But this was probably like the 5th time I've seen this movie. And it was at this point, probably on the 6th watch, while writing this episode, that I realized the pizza guy is the Ullman's adult son they mentioned earlier.
Huh.
I never fucking picked up on that before.
Yeah, he's also the guy that kept Marlboro a Fortune 500 company throughout the 80s. I'm surprised he wasn't smoking a cigarette in this scene when he's chasing her down, because the dude's smoking cigarettes the entire fucking movie. He blows Megan's face off and takes her cigarette out of her mouth and continues to smoke it.
Yeah, it was just like I just picked up on them saying that they have a son, but he's an adult. The whole many years I had seen this movie before, I thought he was just another member of this cult.
No.
Like, he's just some random guy they picked up, but now it makes more sense of why Miss Solman was, like, so upset when she finds him dead in the hallway. That's what made it click, like, why does she care that much?
It makes me really wonder with him. He's kind of an interesting character because you can tell that the Ullmans leading up to the eclipse, so they had to find the chosen girl for this ritual, and they had obviously been stressing out about it. And the movie makes it very obvious that as this eclipse gets closer and they don't have a girl, that the Ullmans, the older two, they're starting to fall apart. She's losing all her hair in the tub. He can't walk now. He has to have a cane where he literally talks about how this is, like, recent and his body's giving out. It's like they're deteriorating, and it makes you wonder how old they are.
Yeah.
Because we don't really see any signs with him that he's kinda rapidly aging or gonna die if they don't, like, get this ritual done. But the Ullmans are clearly, like, losing whatever power that they have in this satanic cult, and their bodies are giving out.
Yeah. So while hiding in the attic, Samantha starts having some extreme pain in her abdomen, accompanied by flashes of that demon hybrid dude looking scary as fuck. Where she then lifts up her shirt, revealing her stomach is doing some crazy shit and now looks all veiny. So Miss Solman finds her halfway passed out and realizes it has begun, telling Samantha once it has started, there is no way to stop it. She then walks over to the window, looking up at the eclipse, and asks her lord to, I don't know, give her some advice or something. Where she then rips off her goddamn wig, revealing a gross-ass bald head with only tiny bits of thin gray hair left. If you've got a wig, please don't rip it off. Especially if you got gross-ass head skin under there with some hair that looks like some fucking dead grass. Just take it off slowly in a private area. That shit is shocking and unsettling to those of us who are not follically challenged.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I didn't realize we hadn't got to that part yet, but yeah, now you realize that the clumps of hair were Mrs. Ullman's hair falling out, and, like, this is what she's left with. Like, she is gone, like, Crypt Keeper.
Yes.
Like, her head is like the Crypt Keeper. She has tiny little strands of gray hair left, but that's it.
Yeah,
and it's so fucking creepy. No matter, like, this has been done in horror in other places. I don't know. I don't remember what season of American Horror Story Heather Lang was. Is
Yeah.
Heather Lang? I remember at one point she was like, they did that to her, like put the head cast on and made her bald, and it's always so scary looking.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, if you're around normal people, don't rip your fucking wig off. It's shocking to everyone around you, especially when that's what's hiding under there.
She was showing the Dark Lord what has happened to her.
Yeah.
Like, give me my hair back.
Yeah. So anyway, while the Crypt Keeper here is praying to the moon Satan, Samantha sneaks up behind her and buries that butcher knife deep in her back, killing her. And on her way out of the house, she grabs the gun and calls 911, which is cut short when she gets more scary-ass visions, prompting her to drop the phone and run out of the house towards the graveyard. But just like the rest of this movie, she is not alone, as we then see a still injured Mr. Ullman chasing after her with the dagger still sticking out of his stomach. She ends up not being able to run anymore, collapsing to her knees and pointing the gun at Mr. Ullman, telling him to stay back, to which he calmly tells her that he just wants to talk. Even after it is revealed that he is this Satanist and he murdered that whole family, he's still such a nice dude.
Yeah, you notice how he can run now, though. Like, in the beginning, before they find her and the ritual is done, he can't even hardly walk. He's like limping around with this cane. Now that the ritual's complete, he's chasing her to the cemetery.
Yep.
Which also kind of leads to, you know, their bodies were falling apart until they found this chosen one. Also really important for the plot part here, there's like 3 different scenes while all this is taking place where she is having these visions of these satanic visions, and her stomach has these like black veins growing out of it, and clearly she is realizing that whatever they did to her is taking effect.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, man, like, he's the, like, nicest, most comforting Satanist ever. Like, I would be like,
He's the recruiter, man.
I don't want to shoot you, man.
He's the recruiter. They send him out to recruit for Satan.
Like,
he's just so nice.
When he's talking to her, it's almost like, oh, fuck, dude, I really want to let you go, but I feel like I need to shoot you, but
she doesn't.
You're nice.
She doesn't shoot him.
Because he's, like, so chill. He's like, you know what? Like, you can shoot me if you want to, but let's just talk.
I'm just a messenger.
It's like the fucking Mr. Rogers of hell. So basically, she's like, what the fuck have you done to me? But he feeds her this line of bullshit about how she was chosen and it's her destiny, blah, blah, blah. Just accept Satan into your heart. But she's not having it, pointing the gun at him and screaming back no. He then tells her that she can go ahead and kill him if she wants, but after looking up at the eclipse, he then tells her it's only moments away now, which makes Samantha realize there is only one way out of this. Samantha then pauses for a moment, and to Mr. Ullman's surprise, she raises the gun to her own head and pulls the trigger, blowing her own brains out right in front of him. We then get a shot of the TV the next day displaying the local news, which is talking about how astronomers are stumped on why or how the eclipse suddenly ended so fast. We then find ourselves in a hospital, revealing a heavily bandaged Samantha laying unconscious in a bed with only a bit of her face showing, and it appears that she is indeed still alive. A nurse then walks in, gives her a shot of medication, and says, "Don't worry, you're going to be just fine. Both of you." Meaning the Antichrist demon baby is still alive inside her body. And that is the end of House of the Devil.
That is so fucking Rosemary's Baby, dude. Like,
yes.
And that really threw me for a loop. Like, the first time I seen this movie, I gotta admit, I didn't see the Antichrist baby thing coming at all.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't either.
It completely, like, just, I almost am like, is it just me? Or, like, did I just miss that? Was it obvious with the whole, like, them, that creature thing doing the symbol on her stomach?
Well, there was no sex.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but maybe there was sex before she woke up.
Well, if you notice, they actually, after you realize she was drugged with the pizza and she passes out, they have put her in a white gown, which I thought was awesome from a directing standpoint.
With no pants.
To put her in this gown, because we get this awesome, like, her covered in blood, because she falls in Megan's blood at the top of the stairs, and then she fights each one of them, and she's bleeding. So by the end of this entire climax, dude, this white nightgown that she's in is just soaked in blood. Thought it was perfect for the end of the movie. But yeah, they definitely undress her and put her in this gown. So it is possible that there was something that took place before she, woke up. Also, the eclipse, the first half of it took like 2 hours before it was fully covered. We know she passes out right when the moon is fully covered. And when she awakes, it's been some time. They show the moon. It's been probably at least an hour.
Yeah. All right, so ratings and kill count. We have a total of 3, maybe 4 kills, not counting the people that were killed before the movie was started. So we have Megan, who was shot in the face by Pizza Man Ullman, the Pizza Man, who had his throat slashed by Samantha. Mrs. Ullman, a.k.a. the Crypt Keeper, was stabbed by Samantha. Mr. Ullman possibly bled to death from the stab wound. We don't really know. We don't know if he dies or not.
Well, yeah, he's still very much alive. I guess when he does pull that knife out, there's bleeding. A good bit of blood that's squirting out. Don't ever pull a knife out. Like, if horror movies has ever taught you anything, get to a hospital before you remove a knife. If you ever get stabbed, taking it out is an awful idea. But yeah, I think he very well could have lived.
Yeah, but definitely it's possible. All right, so favorite kill.
Megan,
Yeah.
with the
Hands down.
headshot.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's fucking close.
I agree.
think a lot of the other kills are weak. I think Ty West should have had whatever they had planned for that kill, where a stunt guy was going to be in place, because that is one downside that I see for the end of this movie. As great as everything was, the kills of the actual family was really kind of weak.
Yeah, I will agree, Megan. But I will say, shout out to the dead kid in the middle of the pentagram. He looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good shot.
Yeah, all of the dead people, like, spread out around the pentagram, like, the imagery and all that just
Perfect.
is great for a satanic panic horror movie.
All right, so film rating. What you got?
So I give this a 4.3. I think this movie is absolutely fantastic for the art side of it, the timepiece element. The attention to detail was amazing. The cinematography, the score. The score is something that elevates this movie so much. And the producer said they had a really hard time because Ty West does not do actual sound whenever he's shooting.
He goes back and Foley's it?
Yeah, so, like, a lot of directors will play the music when she's dancing and stuff.
Yeah.
They'll have it playing on set. He doesn't do anything like that, so it was really hard for the producers to watch the movie as a whole because it was missing score and any of the other music elements that would normally be at least played in the background. But yeah, it just the artistic side of this movie is amazing. The build up, the way Ty West builds tension and builds just this dreadfulness, I think is absolutely genius. I think the payoff, like that creature, the grandma, the evil satanic witch, was super fucking horrifying. We never find out, like, anything about that, or, like, if there was a body recovered, or what the fuck happened with that thing. Yeah, that was a great payoff. The imagery, like, the satanic imagery side of it was perfect. Like, this build-up, the imagery for the end of this movie is what I think every, like, super uptight Christian during the satanic panic thought that was going on all over the country.
Yeah.
And that side of it's just perfect. And then the ending where, you find out it's too late. Like, once the ritual's taken place, there's nothing she can do, and she blows her fucking brains out. And you're like, okay, like, that's super sad, but she realized there's nothing she could do, so she was gonna blow her brains out. And then to get the reveal at the end that she can't die once this ritual's taken place, like, no, she cannot kill herself, and she's now pregnant with this demon baby, the Antichrist. We assume the Antichrist. Genius storytelling. This one's not going to be for everybody. Obviously, it's a slow burn. So if you're not into that, you don't care about the art side, you're probably not going to care for this movie as much. I did think that the kills at the end, like I said, were a little weak. I wish they would have upped that a bit, but overall, I think this is a great movie.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.2. It's not much in story and definitely not anything new when it comes to story or characters, but I don't think that's what this was about. So Ty West was doing an ode to, like, 70s, 80s satanic panic horror films, and they essentially traded story in for awesome filmmaking. Is pretty much what this movie is. I love everything about the style of this film. It had fantastic cinematography, lighting, sound. The sound is such a huge part of what makes this movie great. I would honestly love to see Ty West direct a Friday the 13th movie because I think it would have the perfect feel.
Yeah.
The flashes of this hybrid demon thing, very Pazuzu, very The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And I really got a great feel
point.
from that. But yeah, excellent work with setting, set decoration, tone, atmosphere. He does a perfect job of making us almost feel like we are going through this with Samantha, and I love that. If you like slow burns, older movies, and especially if you appreciate certain things about filmmaking, definitely check this out. 4.2 for me.
I would love to see Ty West do like Friday the 13th, like part 4. Or if they did like the way they did the remake where it was Jason in it, the mom was
what
just
I'm saying,
the beginning, or even if he did like the entire first act of the movie was, essentially the first movie, and then Jason's incorporated, because I would love to see like Hockey Mask Jason
definitely
in this like 80s setting, kind of like in a violent nature kind of shot. There's just like a really like grainy through the woods, but the sound is so important in that. I think that would be amazing if we got Ty West on something like that.
Yeah, he would literally give us the perfect style Friday the 13th that we have been missing for so very long.
And I think that's just a testament to his love of the genre, but also like what do they call it? A cinemaphile.
Cinemaphile.
Yeah, he studies cinema to such a high degree, and now we've seen it in different movies. It's not just like 80s that he does. He really takes different genres and time periods and studies film so good that he has a hand in all aspects of from the score, the set decoration, set design, timepiece element, the cinematography. He really has his hands in all of that after watching all the interviews with all those people. He's very hands-on with that stuff. And his ability to see a movie as an overall piece, as opposed to just, a story, is really amazing.
Well, once again, we thank you guys for listening. Please give us a follow or like if you enjoy the show. Check out the website, check out the socials. Definitely send in those requests for next month, and tell a friend, a family member, or your newborn demon baby about the show. And we hope to see you next time.